For more debates, updates and bonus content, sign up at thebigconversation.show.
I see God as pretty much omnipresent, but I don't know that he's omnipotent, because God can't actually make things that simply don't make sense. And that's what seems to me miracles are about. Now, I'm not saying that miracles don't take place. What I would say is, for that, I'd like to know more. It's never happened to me. I don't think it's ever happened, in my experience at all. It's lovely that it happens to some people, but it seems a little bit random. I mean, there are great ways in which, if God's going to intervene, they could intervene rather than helping you catch a train or whatever it is. And that's a difficulty I have with it. It's not original. I think almost everybody has this, including Christians.
Huge can of worms, but do you want to make a brief response and then we'll start to take some questions?
Yes, I do. Yes, I think that miracles are a huge area. I think that firstly that there can be the impression that we are being asked to sort of choose between laws of nature or a miracle, but actually when we think about the laws of nature, we're told that they're actually probabilistic. They're not fixed certainties, which means I could throw this glass into the audience and it would follow a certain projectile, but that doesn't mean someone can't reach their hand out and grab it and pull it to themselves and change the trajectory. And so the laws of nature are probabilistic, but they're not certainties. Secondly, it's through the laws of nature that you recognize a miracle. It's because you recognize the paranormal because you know what the normal is, and you recognize the supernatural because you know what the natural is. And those that wrote about the resurrection of Jesus said it's actually because dead people don't get up and walk again, that there's something extraordinary about this event that makes us attend to it. And some very logical thinking people wrote about this, one of whom was Luke the physician, and in one of his biography of the life of Jesus, writes not just about his life and morality and teachings, but also his miracles. And so for me, from a scientific background, that just gave me pause for thought to think, okay, well, some very wise and learned people don't seem to have a problem with miracles. And I guess the truth is that if God exists and has created everything that we see, then he would be able to either work within the laws of nature or suspend them. And not because he meddles with nature, but because he is a God who cares and rescues. So that's kind of how I
think the conversation would take a long time. I don't actually accept the probabilistic thing. You're quite right that nothing is certain and everything is probabilistic, but this doesn't mean it's a free-for-all and that somebody can make water spring out of a wall or something. So there is a... But believe me, I'm not dismissing.
No.
Well, I have to say other people have experience that I have not had. But if you ask me, I have to base it on everything I know, which is my experience, what people have said to me, and all the things I've done and read in my life. And I find them a problematic area, I must admit.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it couldn't happen. And about the resurrection, I feel something slightly different, which is that in a way, this mythos is so great and so true that it would almost be a flaw in it if it were not to have literal truth as well as metaphorical truth. But perhaps something for another day. I believe that metaphorical truth is more important than literal truth. Literal truth is a subset of metaphorical truth in which the potential in the metaphor has been collapsed into an actuality in the way that a wave function is collapsed into a particle. It doesn't make the particle greater than the wave function or the field. In fact, the field is greater than the particle.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, yes, and I can see that there's common ground even in this area. I guess I would just say that if I'm in my last days of life, do I want metaphorical truth or do I want literal truth? Am I going to live beyond the death of my body or not? I think that for me is when the crunch comes.
But we know from the fact that possibly our bodies are there after death that maybe the loss of one's body at death is not a literal truth, but a metaphorical truth. Wow. Anyway.
We'll leave it there. Wow.